Welcome back for the Divine Feminine update for January 2024. I cannot believe we are saying 2024. Keep up to date with us by subscribing. We do have super chats. They are as per scheduled, and we do have them via the members also, which is an In the Dark session. Now, we are updating our YouTube platform, so stay tuned for the changes. Obviously, as we do move into January, we are going to still be in the midst of the Mercury effect, so we will delay some of those changes and get straight into the read. But stay tuned, there will be some changes. Now, spiritually, I'm seeing from your energy, we'll show you the crowning energy of what I see coming through for you. And there is this kind of renewal of who you are. And again, this card does drop down to a 5. And whenever we get the 5s, it's these. Spiritually, what I'm saying is Divine Feminine wants to make a lot of changes. There could be anger, frustration, disillusionment, also almost trying to get back to who you are, you know, to who you really are, not just you know, how we are with other people, but rather what our direction is and how we directly feel about circumstances. Now, on the big scale, I will show you the cards, and there is almost this spiritual notion that as you are moving into the first week of January, you may be getting a little bit frustrated, and that can be because you have a mission. It can be because you're recovering post-Christmas and New Year's at an emotional level. This can be a time when we feel we're hitting the ground running. And there is a sense of direction that Divine Feminine is wanting in the mix. And definitely, as I said, there can be some apprehension and frustration. Now, what I'm saying with this is this card, it's almost like the innocence. It's you know, getting back to the innocence of life without feeling completely vulnerable. Now, I'm seeing the fire in the background, and I'm seeing frustration. As I said, there can be some frustration. Forget who you are. Now, the card, like I said, it's a 41. When we see the 1-400, it can link to the twin flame path, but it's also dropping down to a 5. It can mean that, you know, you've gone through a lot of changes. You also spiritually may feel there are a lot of changes yet to come and a lot of changes you physically would like to see. You also could be thinking to yourself in the mix of this, what changes could you physically make to take you to your destination? Conditioning that falls away, memories no longer defining you, you know, and look at the anger on this person's face. Like, there is anger. And the funny thing is, once we come into an acceptance state of who we are, what we want, what changes we need to make, the anger no longer exists. It's a mission. Then we have our mission, we have our goal. You know, we're like the Fool card in Tarot, and we're moving forward. My predictive energy is, especially from the reading that I'm seeing before me, is that Divine Feminine could feel a little bit frustrated, a little bit like a deer in the woods, not quite knowing or feeling they have the tools, feeling that we can move ahead. I do feel there is frustration kind of with external influences. This also can be with your twin. And again, you don't want to be ignorant, but you also want to have that playfulness inside you. And sometimes it's almost that we divorce those things because we feel if we do let down our guard and we do have that innocent approach and that inner child, that potentially people would take advantage of us. So it's about finding the compromise between the both. It is, you know, not having to do everything for everyone, having a bit of time for yourself, that inner child. But definitely I see this brand new kind of beginning that you have coming through in the first week intentionally in January. So I do feel it's going to proceed through the month, but it's that seed that's being planted. It's that notion, that intuitive frequency. But I definitely do see a lot of you can be quite fatigued from this. Now, as we're looking to the past position, like I said, a lot of heart chakra, a lot of inner child, having to be very strong with situations, you know, maybe having to grow up very quickly and having to be quite mature. Again, I do see that you also want to be protected. You want to feel safe. Harness the loyal and protection aura of the line and change ahead and charge ahead. So it is saying, you know, regardless of the past, know that you do have this strength. I think if you have a direction, especially when it does come to us getting grounded, dealing with that inner child, going through those emotions, being gentle with ourselves, really setting the intention in the new year that what you're moving towards is going to be a lot better. It's going to take hard work. You have the tools, you have the creativity, whatever you're putting your head to, your mind to. I do feel spiritually you do have the skill. Trust in the skill that you have. I also feel you are wanting to be not wanting to be everything to everyone. You're feeling as though you need to protect yourself. You're feeling like you're going into hermit mode. I'm noticing the cloak and the heart of the reading, and it is to do with the inner trust. And I feel Divine Feminine knows very, very well that it's important to trust your instincts. It's important to be able to trust individuals that you are surrounded with. And again, you know, even if there are individuals that are acting shady, your intuitive energy will protect you. But it can be that you're retreating back and you're saying, look, maybe I don't want that energy in my life. I want to do these things in a different way. We still can have that compassion and understanding, but we also have to have that for ourselves. And so I feel the inner trust is your intuitive energy. If you can meditate, if you can take 5 before, you know, jumping in the deep end, I think it's going to serve you a lot better. Again, I feel if you can get into your vortex, you're going to attract things in. But sometimes when we have this back off energy, when we have this frustration energy, and I do feel both masculine and feminine were going through almost like a shedding of skin. So if things weren't flowing effectively, you can find as we do move through January, things are going to really transform quite radically. Now, could it look a bit messy? It could. But nevertheless, the power of attraction is here in your reading. And I do directly feel like attracts like, you know, you're going to attract what you're vibing. If you put your intuitive energy into a direction you want to go and you feel at peace with it, you're going to attract that same frequency back. It's not to say we don't get the pushback, but I do feel counterpart here. You're balancing both your masculine and feminine. But you also feel, yeah, some of you could even be questioning, how did I manifest this into my aura? How did I manifest these dramas into my aura? And you're really wanting to move forward, but you're wanting to move forward with an individual that is working with you. I also do feel at a spiritual level, Divine Feminine is trying to get in balance, really caring for their inner world, their intuitive kind of feminine world. And nurturing the feelings, but they're also trying to come into harmony with an action that they may need to take. This can be on the masculine side of your life, not just your twin flames, but your direct masculine side of your life, where you're wanting to come into harmony, acceptance, and then take direct action in a particular road that you're wanting to go. Some of you, again, especially from a foundation level, I do feel what you're looking at is some of these big visions. It's almost like you're fine-tuning, and I think Saturn has something to do with this. I feel as though this year you're being very realistic, not wanting to overburden yourself, maybe wanting to have a bit more fun. But again, trying to get yourself into that high vibe. But I feel that whatever the big vision was, it's almost like if it's something that you're wanting, I don't know why I'm getting this as a hangman situation, is that if you want the bigger picture, you know, are you willing to make small sacrifices? And I don't mean, you know, being a doormat, taking crumbs or anything to that degree. But what I'm really seeing is when we get grounded, when we look to the past, yes, acknowledge the fact that you've gone through a lot of changes and you have a lot of changes yet to come. This can also be your intuition relating to your twin and separate areas of your life. Now, when we're looking to the past, it is saying you can trust yourself. You do want to go into hermit mode. You do need to reflect a bit more. You do want to become grounded so that inner harmony between your inner masculine and feminine can get balanced. Don't second guess yourself. You do have the tools here at hand. You have strength and creativity. But again, what I'm seeing here from a foundation level, it looks as though once you can get into that balance with your inner yin and yang, you're going to be able to manifest anything you want, and you will be willing to make certain sacrifices. And I don't know why I get throat chakra being a bit of a bugbear. it's because this can be other people that are wanting to say things, but it's actions speaking louder than words. It's you directly taking some steps, but the sacrifices that you'll be willing to make, you're going to want a lot more now. So you'll be willing to make sacrifices, providing there is a reason and an intention for it. You also don't want to push anything. You know, some of you could be thinking, does this vision, does this path actually want me? And again, when we are in that inner child energy, looking to the past position, we can feel rejected. We can feel misunderstood. We also don't want to, you know, put extra work into circumstances that feel that it's almost like we're an unwanted guest with the situation. And if we feel that way, yes, you know, that emotionally can affect us. Like I said, what I am seeing, especially from the crowning energy for the first week of January, it seems to feel as though we need to nurture our inner child. We need to be gentle with ourselves. We need to understand that if we're, especially with Chiron going direct from about the 27th of December last year, this energy can actually help us transition. We were having the moon in Cancer as well. So moving into the first week of January, we still can be vibing in that frequency, especially with Mercury in its retrograde, which will be going direct. So all of these energies are sort of taking us more to the past. They're taking us to that frustration level. It was also taking us to this space where we were looking at it saying, hey, we're doing all the sacrifices. This big image is never going to happen. This big vision, you know, I'm being rejected. I'm not wanting. I'm not wanted. And so this hole in the heart that was there, it's almost like our soul needs to kind of fill that void. If we continue down that road, it's showing that that's what we're moving towards. And again, it's asking you to meditate, go into your spiritual values, go into your spiritual beliefs. You know, Jupiter going direct is going to help us in its retrograde, and it went shadow direct, which New Year's Eve for many could have been a bit of a bugbear. And that is because when things are shadow direct, it's almost like it's dark. So, you know, New Year's Eve, could it have been great? Well, maybe. It's better to go through the frequency and have less attachment. So I think if we can be present, if we can, you know, not think too much to the past, not too much to the future, I think the end of 2023 served a fantastic purpose. And that was to, you know, if we did need to get into that low vibration and look at things and say, hey, those things weren't so great, we also equally can be looking at those things and say, hey, you know, I actually have achieved quite a lot. And it can be something in the smallest things. I did have a soul friend message me and say, Yildiz, you know, what are you grateful for this year? And it was my connections. And, you know, that doesn't have to be romantic. It was connections, the people that are valuable in my life. It was also health, and it was food and shelter, especially when we see things happening over the world. I think if we can get to a base level, it can help us actually appreciate what we directly have in front of us, even if to us it does seem very trivial and very small. But it's the small blessings that we have that, as you notice, you know, when you do get into your vortex, you actually can attract a whole lot more. We're going to pull some clarifiers because I really want to know what this vibration is, especially at a foundation level. I think many of you are intentionally making decisions. It's like, look, if this is where it's taking me to, this can be an attitude shift. This can be a 3D shift. This can be a removing of individuals that, you know, aren't vibing. And can we be around lower frequency people? We can, but again, with that cloak energy, I feel it's the way you dance with that situation. You know, how much you give, how much you allow it to affect you. Be an observer of the circumstance over the person that's standing directly under the tower. And I think if you can do that, you still can vibe around these people, but you're also going to be giving less. You're going to be an observer. And that way this person or these individuals learn their karmic lessons. They transform a lot quicker and you don't have to get taken down with it. Now, let's have a look at what I see coming through for the crowning energy, if there's any additional messages. Yeah, I do feel image changes. I definitely feel image changes. I definitely feel that although you have gone through a lot of changes and you're like, where has it got me? I do think that many of you are also going to shake that off and you're like, all right, I know who I am. Yeah, what you're doing is you're removing any white noise. You're also kind of stepping away from disaster. I feel for a lot of you, if you're making any moves, especially if you were getting the download psychically and being quite cautious with your actions, I feel you're understanding that, some things, it's almost like, whose battle is it? Like, not taking on other people's battles, not taking actions where it's going to take you down a disastrous road. I just feel Divine Feminine being very protective of themselves. I do feel if you can watch your throat chakra, it's really going to aid you. But I feel this is more from a perspective of what is your intent with communication. Be very transparent. If we're triggered, don't communicate. And just say that, look, I'm triggered at the moment. It's probably not going to come out correctly. And I think if you can do that, it's really going to be your saving grace. Journaling at the moment, I think, is really going to help. And I think your direct direction is really going to aid you. But I feel what you're doing is protecting yourself. But, the advice I would say, especially from the cards, because we have misfortune in reverse and we have soldier energy coming through. What I'm predicting here is don't do something that you're going to regret later. So that can be, know that you're going through a healing stage. So try to not... try to be happy with whatever choices you make and try and look to the future and say, okay, if I took this action, is this a spur of the moment thing? Is this coming through in anger or frustration or emotion? Would I be acting that way if I was grounded, logical, etc.? And I think if you can sit pretty with that emotionally, then you know what you're doing. Now, okay, what is this in a trust? Okay, I feel this is something to do with your spiritual journey as well as your twins. I do feel at the moment you can be looking at it and going, look, I may not like some of the things they're doing. And it's almost like your communication style, your attitude style, it's very silent. It's very ghostly silent. You're trying to, even though we try to trust the process, there can be something that you're looking at that you're needing to meditate upon because it's just not, it's not matching up. But what you're feeling is you're needing to trust the situation. And trust doesn't just come down to, yes, I trust the situation. It's like in the 3D, you need to see people's actions are actually matching their words. And I feel that's how you're really looking at the circumstance at this point in time. Okay, what actions is Divine Feminine getting into balance within her own inner masculine and feminine? Because I do see that as a big one that you guys are going through in January. Okay, it's getting down to business. I do feel there can be 3 direct situations that you're needing to address. These can be personal circumstances inside your life that you need to use your own masculine energy on. Yeah, they're things that you're needing to wrap up. They're asking you to get them done by the 2nd week of January. Okay, there is a brand new seed being planted, and this can be something that you will be willing to sacrifice for. They're also making reference to don't put words in masculine's mouth. And what do they mean by this? Especially spiritually, if you had been feeling as though this person was very undecided or was having a certain vibe, or acting a certain way on purpose, try to not do that to yourself because it is directly affecting your heart chakra. What I'm saying is let that person think about that. When you actually tune out of that person, ironically enough, you do directly get movement. This person also does fear rejection. For some, they could be dealing with a past partnership that they're closing out spiritually, and that person doesn't even need to be with them in the 3D. I do feel what you're looking for is something that is of a more permanent nature. So some of you point blank could just be making decisions and saying, I want to invest in myself at this point. I'm not really wanting to have anything coming towards me. I just need to really go with the flow. Those maybe that are in communication or a union, there could be a notion of marriage coming up. And I do think even those of you that are really not wanting a relationship, something directly is being attracted to you regardless. Okay. Although, yes, it does show that you have done a lot of work on yourself there. You know, there's always that higher heart chakra healing. I feel spiritually, you know, being gentle on yourself, getting to a point where you're not so hard on yourself. You are going through a transformation, and transformations can feel shaky. Some of you can psychically be picking up on this person's energy, which can be affecting your heart chakra. They could be going through a very difficult time. I also feel some of you are so frustrated because it's like, how am I going to get this person out of my heart? How is this? And I think this is something that they're directly feeling at this point in time. My highest advice would be just really be cautious about how you react, especially moving through into January. We might shoot our foot off. Or our mouth, and we could regret an action that we take. It's just asking us to go into it very cautiously, to be very loving and understanding towards yourself, but definitely to be in awareness of any pain body experiences that you have coming up. The hole in the soul, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's asking you emotionally in the 9 energy to go back into that kind of into your spirituality. That can be your spiritual practices. It could be doing some clearings. It could be doing some heart chakra clearings. Sagittarius also can be bringing this up. It's very Jupiter orientated energy. And I don't know why I'm getting at the moment. It's almost like Juno, you know, sort of wanting to wrap this up in a karmic sense. And I do feel something on the other side of this. If you see it through, you're actually going to get a different outcome. But it does feel like a bit of a spiritual test. We will jump in and go see how Divine Masculine's going. If you want to come and join us, come through and take a look. We do cover these weekly, and hopefully we will have new content coming up. If you do subscribe, we have the super chats as per schedule to come through and join. Otherwise, if you want something a little bit more private, we do have the In the Dark and the Members Hub once a month. See you soon. I'll jump through now and we'll see what's going on with Divine Masculine.